During the 1980s, the Sub-Saharan African countries experienced massive economic and social reverses than any other region in the third world. In fact, the 1980s were described as the lost decade for Africa. This here means that the overall economic performance of most African countries in the sub-region went below the required economic standards. In this lesson, we are going to analyze the causes of the crisis of development in the sub-Saharan countries. And these causes are internal. So the first cause is all about the exchange rate policy. So exchange rates in Africa or in sub-Saharan Africa tend to be overvalued. By this we mean they are kept artificially low, okay? So the relative prices of goods and services in these countries are very high. And the consequences are that people tend to import more than they export because they would rather buy goods in a country whose prices are relatively cheaper. And what happens is that the trade balance, also called the net exports, tend to be negative because imports are more than exports. So you see that overvalued exchange rates lead to a crisis of development because this tends to undermine the families whose disposable incomes are very, very low. So the next cause we are going to look at is the inappropriate agricultural policies. Most African economies depend on agriculture, but we see that there is a lack of resource allocation to agriculture. This then tells us why most agricultural products lack value addition. Most of these countries do not tend to largely invest in agriculture, and so producers tend to drift away because it is less profitable in the agricultural sector. So we notice that this is because the prices of inputs are high and that there is lack of training for farmers and that there are weak sectoral linkages. By this we mean there is no linkage between the agricultural sector and the industrial sector, okay? There are weak linkages, all right, which then leads to the lack of value addition to these agricultural products that are produced by farmers. And we know the consequences of that because the export prices reduce due to lack of value addition. The third cause we are going to look at is excessive state intervention. Excessive state intervention distorts the normal market operations in the way that it either leaves the producers or consumers unsatisfied. Let's assume that the state intervenes through setting a price ceiling, which is the maximum price that producers are allowed to charge the consumers. And in most cases, the price ceiling tends to be low and in the end favors the consumers. Producers are hurt by lower prices because their main goal is to maximize profits. So that's it. In the next lesson, we are going to look at the external causes of the crisis of development in developing countries. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe.